There is a specific kind of person who makes others deeply uncomfortable, not because they are aggressive, not because they are arrogant, but because they simply never stop. You have seen them. The one who starts something in January and is still doing it in December. The one who does not need motivation, does not need accountability, does not need a perfect morning to move forward. While everyone around them complains about not having enough time, enough energy, enough willpower, this person just does it, day after day, without drama, without negotiation. What is different about them? It is not genetics, it is not privilege, it is not some superhuman capacity to endure discomfort. It is a method, a philosophy over 1,000 years old, born in the workshops and temples of Japan. They call it Kaizen. And once you understand how it truly works, procrastination will no longer be a problem you fight. It will be a problem that dissolves. But I have to warn you, the way most people use Kaizen is completely wrong. And that mistake is exactly why they never change. Today you will discover the right way, the frightening way, the way that actually works. But before we dive in, if you are serious about eliminating procrastination from your life, subscribe to the channel right now and turn on notifications. And in the comments, tell me, what is the one task you have been putting off for weeks? This is not just engagement, it is your first act of Kaizen. Let us begin. This is the story of a woman named Camilla. Camilla was 31 years old, a marketing manager, objectively talented. Her colleagues respected her, her boss trusted her. On paper, she had everything to move forward. But at home, alone, there was a list. A list she had been carrying for 2 years. Write the book, start the business, learn design, get fit. The list never changed. Every Sunday night she would look at it. Every Monday morning she would say, "This week is different." By Thursday the list was forgotten. By Sunday night she felt the same shame all over again. Sound familiar? Camilla had tried everything: the Pomodoro technique, time blocking, dopamine detox, cold showers. She even bought a course on discipline, a course she never finished. The problem was not effort. The problem was scale. Camilla was trying to change everything at once, and her brain, which is designed to protect her from effort, from risk, from the unknown, saw every new habit as a threat. So it resisted. Loudly, creatively, exhaustingly, until the day she stumbled across a quote from Masaki Imai, the man who brought Kaizen to the Western world. He wrote that the biggest room in the world is the room for improvement. But what Camilla finally understood was the word he was really emphasizing. Not improvement. Room. You do not force improvement. You make room for it. And that changes everything. Most people translate Kaizen as continuous improvement. And technically, that is correct. Kai means change. Zen means good. But that translation hides the most important part of the philosophy. The part that makes it dangerous in the best way possible. In post-war Japan, Kaizen was not born in a self-help book. It was born on the factory floor. Toyota engineers were trying to solve an impossible problem. How do you improve a system that is already running without breaking it? Their answer was radical in its simplicity. You do not make big changes. You make the smallest possible change, every single day, without exception. Not 10% better, not 2% better, 1% better, sometimes 0.5% better. The result? After 1 year of 1% daily improvements, you are not 365% better. You are 37 times better. That is the mathematics of compounding, and it destroys procrastination at the root. Here is why procrastination really exists. It is not laziness. Researchers at Carleton University, who have studied procrastination for over 20 years, found that procrastination is primarily an emotion regulation problem, not a time management problem. You do not procrastinate because you are disorganized. You procrastinate because starting feels overwhelming, threatening, or pointless. Kaizen does not fight that feeling. It makes the feeling irrelevant. Because when the task is small enough, truly small enough, your brain's threat response never activates. You cannot be afraid of one push-up. You cannot procrastinate on writing one sentence. The scale is below the threshold of resistance. And that is where the transformation begins. Camilla started with 2 minutes. Not 2 hours of writing, not a full workout, not a business plan, 2 minutes of writing every day at the same time. Her mind rebelled immediately. This is ridiculous. 2 minutes will not change anything. You are wasting your time. You need to do more to actually matter. This is the voice you need to recognize. Psychologists call it the action value distortion, the brain's tendency to only value actions that feel big enough to justify the effort of starting. This voice is not your conscience, it is your comfort zone defending itself. Because here is what that voice does not tell you. The hardest part of any task is never the task itself. It is the moment before you start. The activation energy, the gap between intention and motion. 2 minutes is not the goal, 2 minutes is the door. Camilla wrote for 2 minutes on Monday. On Tuesday she wrote for 2 minutes and then kept going for 8 more because she was already in motion. Wednesday she wrote for 20 minutes and did not notice the time. Newton's first law does not just apply to physics. A body in motion stays in motion. A body at rest stays at rest. Kaizen is the science of becoming a body in motion and staying there. But then something happened. Week 3. The excitement faded. The 2 minutes started to feel pointless again. She missed one day, then 2. And she was about to quit entirely when she discovered the second pillar of Kaizen. In Japan, there is a concept used in Kaizen called Ichido, meaning 1 degree. The idea is simple. You never ask for a leap. You ask for 1 degree of change at a time. Water at 99 degrees Celsius is just hot water. At 100 degrees, it boils. 1 degree changes everything. But you cannot get to 100 without first being at 99. Most people try to go from 20 degrees to 100 degrees in a single week. They burn out, freeze up, and convince themselves they are not disciplined enough. They were not undisciplined. They were just skipping degrees. Camilla had been treating her 2-minute habit like a failure because it was not producing visible results fast enough. She was watching the wrong metric. A Stanford behavioral scientist who spent 15 years studying behavior formation found that the strongest predictor of long-term habit success is not the size of the habit, but the consistency of identity reinforcement. In other words, every time you do the thing, even for 2 minutes, you are casting a vote for the kind of person you are becoming. Not who you want to be, who you are. Camilla stopped measuring output. She started measuring identity. Instead of asking, "Did I write enough today?" she asked, "Did I show up as a writer today? 2 minutes?" Yes, you showed up. Vote cast. The book does not get written in one day. The book gets written 1 vote at a time. When she reframed the metric, missing a day became something entirely different. It was not failure. It was cancelling a vote for who she was trying to become. She stopped missing days. Month 2 arrived, and with it, chaos. Her mother visited for a week. A work deadline destroyed her schedule. She got sick. The 2-minute habit, which had grown to 15 minutes by now, was under attack from every direction. This is where every system fails. Not because the system is wrong, but because life is not a controlled environment. Traditional productivity advice says, protect your routine at all costs. But that advice breaks the moment reality appears. And when it breaks completely. Because any gap in the routine feels like proof that you are not really that kind of person after all. Kaizen has a different answer. It is called do something, always something. The principle is not perfection, the principle is continuity. A river in drought is still a river if it keeps moving. The moment it stops, it becomes a memory of where water used to flow. The night her mother arrived and there was no quiet time, no desk, no space, Camilla wrote 1 sentence on her phone. 1 sentence at 11:47 p.m. in the bathroom. Not because 1 sentence mattered to the book, because it mattered to the identity. The vote was cast. When she was sick, she wrote 1 word. On the day of her deadline, she opened the document, stared at it for 90 seconds, and closed it. That counts. The gap never opened. The all-or-nothing lie has ended more transformations than laziness ever could. Kaizen destroys that lie. It says something is always infinitely more than nothing. There is one final weapon in the Kaizen arsenal, and it is the one most people never discover. Toyota engineers did not just improve what was happening. They mapped every failure point before it happened. They called it poker yoke, mistake-proofing. The idea that you design the environment so that failure becomes harder than success. Camilla made a list, every single reason she had ever stopped doing something: tired, busy, traveling, unmotivated, distracted, overwhelmed, sick. Guests, bad day. Then she pre-decided what Kaizen looked like under each condition. Traveling, one sentence in the hotel notes app. Sick, one word. Overwhelmed, open the document for 60 seconds. Guests, right after they sleep. Bad day, especially on bad days, 2 minutes. A behavioral scientist at the University of Chicago who has studied decision fatigue for 18 years found that people who pre-commit to specific if-then responses to obstacles are up to 3 times more likely to follow through than those who rely on in-the-moment willpower. The reason is simple. When the obstacle appears and you have not planned for it, your brain faces a new decision under stress. Stress plus new decision almost always equals the path of least resistance. But when the plan already exists, when you have already decided that if you are traveling, you write one sentence on your phone, there is no decision to make. The answer is already written. The brain executes instead of debates. Camilla was not relying on motivation anymore. She had pre-solved every version of herself that wanted to quit. 90 days after her first 2-minute session, Camilla had written 28,000 words. She was not tracking them. She only found out when a friend asked to read what she was working on, and she counted for the first time. 28,000 words, a book half written, from 2 minutes a day. But something deeper had changed than word count. She no longer had a list of things she was putting off. She had a schedule of things she was doing. The distance between intention and action had collapsed. Not because she had become more disciplined, but because she had stopped needing discipline for this. She had become a writer. Not someone trying to write, not someone who wants to write someday. A writer. Present tense, active identity. Her colleagues said she seemed different. More confident, more decisive. They did not know about the 2 minutes a day. They could only see the result. Someone told her she was obsessive, that normal people do not show up like this. She smiled and said nothing. Because she understood. Normal people wait for motivation. Normal people need perfect conditions. Normal people have lists they have been carrying for 2 years. Kaizen does not make you more motivated. It makes you someone who no longer needs to be. The procrastination did not disappear because you conquered it. It disappeared because you made it irrelevant. You shrank the task below the threshold of resistance. You showed up anyway when it felt pointless. You pre-solved every version of yourself that wanted to stop. And you cast vote after vote after vote until the person in the mirror was no longer someone who procrastinates. They were someone who acts.